Steph Curry walks with confident steps across the private Oakland airport tarmac, the California morning breeze touching his face as he approaches the white helicopter that will take him to the most important game of the season. His Nike sneakers make a rhythmic sound against the asphalt, creating a soundtrack of determination that echoes through the silence of the Sunday morning. "Don't get in the helicopter!" The scream cuts through the air like a cannon shot, making Steph stop instantly just 5 meters from the aircraft. A 10-year-old black girl bursts through the security fence, running barefoot across the tarmac with a speed fueled by pure desperation. They sabotaged it! They sabotaged the helicopter! You can sense that there are moments in life when a child's voice carries more authority than any adult, when instinct tells us to stop everything and listen, even when our logic screams otherwise. Steph feels this primitive urgency running through his veins. Maya runs as if her life depends on it, but in reality, it's Steph's life that depends on her courage. Her small feet pound against the cold asphalt, while 2 burly security guards chase after her, shouting for her to stop, treating her like a dangerous intruder instead of a desperate messenger. "Mr. Curry, don't get in! I saw them last night." Steph raises his hand, signaling for the security guards to stop. Something in the girl's voice, a raw sincerity that cannot be faked, a genuine terror that makes his hair stand on end, convinces him that he needs to hear what she has to say. To understand why a 10-year-old child risked her own safety to run through a restricted area and shout warnings to one of the most famous people in the world. Why she chose to face armed security guards rather than remain silent. We need to go back 18 hours, when Maya witnessed something that would change 2 lives forever. It was Saturday night, 11:47 p.m., when Maya woke up thirsty in her small house, located just 200 meters from the private airport. The house where she lives with her grandmother Jennifer Walsh is simple. 2 bedrooms, windows that don't close properly, a roof that leaks when it rains hard. But it has one unique advantage: a direct view of the runway where the rich and famous arrive and depart from Oakland. Maya has always enjoyed watching the planes and helicopters, dreaming of distant places she might one day visit. But that night, what she saw through the kitchen window didn't fuel dreams. It planted nightmares. How is it possible that a 10-year-old child can instantly recognize when something is wrong, even without understanding exactly what they're witnessing? Maya possesses that sharp intuition that poverty sometimes develops, the ability to detect danger before it fully manifests itself. 2 dark figures moved around the white helicopter, illuminated only by the weak light of the security spotlights. They wore expensive suits, moved with military precision, and carried a tool case that gleamed under the artificial light. It's impossible not to feel the chill of witnessing something we instinctively know shouldn't be happening. Maya pressed her face against the cold window, trying to see better what the men were doing with that aircraft. The taller man, later she would describe him as having gray hair and a scar on his neck, was working on something inside the helicopter's control panel. The other, shorter and chubby, kept watch while whispering something on the phone. "It has to look like a natural accident," Maya heard the shorter man say, his voice carried by the night wind to her window. "GPS failure, loss of communication. No one can suspect sabotage." Have you ever felt that moment when your child's brain tries to process adult words that are too big, too dangerous, too important for your age to fully comprehend? Maya experienced exactly that sensation while absorbing every word. "Curry can't arrive alive at tomorrow's game," the tall man responded, his words floating through the night like a death sentence. 500 million in bets depend on this. The boss was clear. Simulate an accident. No witnesses. At that moment, something happened that no one expected. Maya understood that she was witnessing not just a crime, but a murder conspiracy against Steph Curry, the player she had admired since she could remember. Maya had grown up watching Steph play basketball on the old living room television, dreaming that one day she could meet him, maybe get an autograph. Her grandmother always said, "Maya, people like us don't meet people like him." But Maya never stopped dreaming. Now, hidden behind the torn curtain of her window, she discovered that the man of her dreams was in mortal danger, and she was the only person in the world who knew it. The men worked for another 40 minutes, installing what looked like a small electronic device in different parts of the helicopter. Maya memorized every movement, every word, every detail, including the license plate of the black car they fled in. LKM 7829. Great things happen when small people have giant courage, Maya whispered to herself, a phrase her grandmother always repeated when they faced difficult moments. Maya spent the entire night awake, planning how to warn Steph Curry without anyone believing it was just a child's imagination. She knew that adults rarely listen to children when the subject is serious, especially poor children talking about rich people. But when she saw Steph walking toward that helicopter the next morning, Maya forgot all fears, all social protocols, all consequences. She simply ran, screamed, and bet her own safety on the hope that a famous man would believe a desperate child. Now, standing on the tarmac with Maya panting before him, Steph Curry is about to make the most important decision of his life. Believe a barefoot girl who might be saving his life, or dismiss her as a confused intruder. Steph Curry looks into Maya's eyes, eyes that shine with a mixture of genuine terror and fierce determination, and makes a decision that will save his life. Instead of ignoring a confused child, he chooses to trust the instinct that made him a champion. When something seems wrong, investigate before proceeding. "Stop!" Steph shouts to the security guards, still chasing Maya. "Let her speak." Maya falls to her knees on the asphalt, gasping, her small lungs struggling to recover breath after the desperate run. Tears stream down her face, not from fear of the guards, but from relief at finally being heard by someone who can do something. You can sense that there are decisive moments in life when we choose between convenience and conscience, between protocol and intuition. Steph has just chosen to listen to a child instead of ignoring her, and this choice will change the course of both lives. "Talk, sweetheart," Steph says, kneeling beside Maya to be at eye level with her. "Tell me what you saw." Between sobs and labored breathing, Maya pours out the entire truth. The two men in suits, the tool case, the conversations about sabotage, the words about Curry not arriving alive at the game, the 500 million in bets. Every detail comes out like an urgent confession from someone who carried an impossible weight throughout an entire night. How is it possible that words from a 10-year-old child have the power to completely stop the agenda of one of the busiest people in the world? Steph feels each of Maya's sentences hitting his stomach like punches of brutal reality. "Do you remember the car's license plate?" Steph asks, his voice gaining the seriousness of someone who understands they're dealing with a life-or-death situation. "LKM 7829, Maya responds without hesitation, and the tall man had a scar on his neck and wore a gold watch. The short one had a strange accent and was talking on the phone with someone called Boss. It's impossible not to be impressed with the precision of observation that only children possess when they witness something that marks them deeply. Maya absorbed every detail with the photographic clarity of genuine fear. Steph stands up and gestures to James Wilson, his security coordinator. "James, I need you to call technicians immediately. Complete verification of the helicopter before anything else." "Mr. Curry, this could be a child's imagination," James begins, but Steph interrupts him with authority that accepts no questioning. "James, look into this girl's eyes and tell me if this is imagination." At that moment, something happened that no one expected. Maya takes Steph's hand with her small, dirty hands, looks directly into his eyes, and says, "Mr. Curry, I know I'm just a poor kid and you're famous, but I swear on my grandmother that I'm telling the truth. They want to hurt you." The raw sincerity in those words hits Steph like lightning. There's no manipulation, no hidden agenda, just a desperate child trying to save someone she admires. The technicians arrive in 15 minutes and begin systematic inspection of the helicopter. Maya watches every movement, indicating exactly where she saw the men working. Her small fingers point to the control panel, to the GPS area, to compartments that would normally go unnoticed. "Here," Maya says, indicating a specific section. "The tall man worked a long time inside here." The lead technician, Christopher Lee, follows her indication and removes a panel that reveals something that makes everyone stop breathing. A small electronic device that clearly isn't part of the aircraft's original equipment. Have you ever felt that terrible moment when we discover that our paranoia was actually prudence, that our fears were completely justified? Steph experiences this revelation like an icy wave running down his spine. "My God," Christopher whispers, examining the device with protective gloves. "This is sophisticated. Programmed to cause simultaneous failure in GPS and communication system after 20 minutes of flight." The implication is clear to everyone present. Steph would be flying over the ocean when the helicopter completely lost navigation and communication capability. No GPS, no radio, no way to call for help or know where he is. A perfect accident. "FBI, now," Steph orders, his voice carrying an urgency that makes everyone move with military speed. Maya watches everything, with wide eyes, beginning to understand the magnitude of what she witnessed and prevented. She didn't just see a crime, she saw an assassination attempt planned with surgical precision. It's impossible not to feel the crushing responsibility that a child carries when they become the sole witness to a conspiracy that could bring down powerful people. Maya feels this weight, but also feels something stronger. Pride in having saved someone she considered a hero. "Maya," Steph says, kneeling again. Beside her, "You saved my life, sweetheart. Literally, saved my life." "Great things happen when we do the right thing, even when we're afraid," Maya responds, echoing wisdom that her grandmother Jennifer always shares during difficult moments. FBI agents arrive in 20 minutes, record time that reflects the gravity of the situation. Agent Sarah Mitchell, specialist in organized crime, takes command of the investigation immediately. "Miss Maya," Agent Mitchell says with professional gentleness, "you're our most important witness. Every detail you remember can help us catch these dangerous people." How many times does a 10-year-old child become a key piece in a federal investigation of attempted murder? Maya feels the weight of this responsibility, but also the protection of having adults finally taking her words seriously. Over the next 2 hours, Maya provides detailed descriptions that impress even experienced investigators. She draws faces of the conspirators, repeats conversations word for word, provides details about vehicles and times that will become crucial to dismantling the entire operation. But it's when Agent Mitchell asks about motivations that Maya reveals the most shocking information. They talked about bets, about how someone would lose a lot of money if Mr. Curry played tomorrow. They said the boss paid a lot to ensure that didn't happen. Steph feels his reality reorganizing completely. He's not just a basketball player. He's become the target of an international conspiracy involving hundreds of millions of dollars in illegal betting. The federal investigation explodes into activity during the following 6 hours like a well-oiled war machine. Agent Sarah Mitchell coordinates an operation involving license plate tracking, forensic analysis of the device, and data cross-referencing that will reveal a criminal network much larger than anyone imagined. Maya remains close to Steph throughout the process, her small but comforting presence serving as an anchor of reality amid the investigative chaos. She refuses to go home, even when her grandmother Jennifer arrives worried, insisting she needs to see the bad men being arrested. You can sense that there's something deeply powerful in the determination of a child who feels responsible for protecting someone they saved. Maya doesn't see Steph just as a celebrity. She sees him as a person she almost lost because of her, if she hadn't had the courage to act. Mr. Curry, Agent Mitchell calls Steph to a private room at the airport. We have preliminary results that will shock you. The license plate LKM 7829 that Maya memorized led investigators directly to Carlos Mendez, known to federal police as an operator of one of the largest illegal betting networks on the West Coast. But Carlos is just the tip of the iceberg. How is it possible that an assassination attempt reveals a web of corruption that extends across multiple industries and countries? Steph is about to discover that he wasn't just a target. He was the centerpiece in an operation that would move $500 million. Carlos Mendez works for Anthony Zhang, Agent Mitchell explains, showing photographs of an Asian-American magnate that Steph recognizes from financial news. Zhang has interests in casinos in Macau, shares in rival sports teams, and media contracts that would be affected by the playoffs. It's impossible not to feel the vertigo of discovering that your death was planned not out of passion or madness, but by the cold mathematics of profits and losses on an international scale. But there's more, Agent Mitchell continues, her voice gaining gravity that makes Steph prepare for an even more disturbing revelation. They had inside help. Someone who knew your routines, your schedules, your transportation preferences. At that moment, something happened that no one expected. Agent Mitchell places on the table a photo that makes Steph feel like he's been punched in the stomach. Tyler Brooks, his former personal security guard. Tyler Brooks, Steph whispers, immediately recognizing the face of the man who worked for him for 2 years. But I fired him 6 months ago for inappropriate conduct and protocol violation, Agent Mitchell completes. Our records show that Tyler developed deep resentment after dismissal. He sought out Carlos Mendez, offering information in exchange for revenge and money. How many times do we discover that our correct professional decisions can generate dangerous personal consequences? Steph feels the weight of understanding that doing the right thing, firing Tyler for improper behavior, almost resulted in his own death. Tyler provided flight schedules, route preferences, information about helicopter security, Agent Mitchell continues. He knew your habits well enough to ensure you would be alone in that helicopter at exactly the planned time. Steph feels a toxic mixture of betrayal and relief. Betrayal for discovering that someone he trusted tried to kill him. Relief for knowing he wasn't betrayed by his current team, but by someone who had already shown questionable character. Outside the room, Maya waits nervously, her small hands clenched into fists, while watching adults in suits running back and forth with serious expressions. She knows something important is happening, but doesn't fully understand the magnitude of what she triggered. Simultaneous operation is underway now. Agent Mitchell informs Steph. FBI teams are arresting Carlos Mendez at his mansion in Napa Valley, Anthony Zhang at his offices in San Francisco, and Tyler Brooks at his apartment in Berkeley. It's impossible not to feel the poetic justice of seeing elaborate plans developed over months being destroyed in a matter of hours because of the courage of a 10-year-old girl. Agent Mitchell's phone rings urgently. Mitchell. Understood. Perfect. Bring them all here. Steph, she says, after hanging up. All three were arrested without resistance. Tyler Brooks confessed everything when confronted with evidence. Apparently, guilt was destroying him since he learned it would be actual murder, not just a scare as had been promised. Have you ever witnessed the moment when justice happens in real time, when criminals are captured before they can cause irreversible harm? Steph experiences this satisfaction as a wave of relief that runs through his entire body. Maya bursts into the room when she sees Steph coming out, running to him with speed that recalls her desperate run across the tarmac hours ago. But this time, she runs not from fear, but from pure joy. Did they arrest the bad men? Maya asks, her eyes shining with expectation. They arrested them all, sweetheart, Steph responds, kneeling to hug the girl who saved his life. Thanks to you. Great things happen when brave people decide to protect good people, even when it seems impossible, Maya says, echoing philosophy that her grandmother Jennifer taught about making a difference in the world. Steph feels tears forming in his eyes, not from sadness, but from profound gratitude for being alive, for having met Maya, for having discovered that guardian angels sometimes appear as barefoot children running through airports. Maya, Steph says, holding her small hands between his, you didn't just save my life. You taught me that we should always listen when someone tries to protect us, no matter how unlikely it seems. Agent Mitchell observes the interaction with a rare smile that appears only when justice and humanity meet in the same moment. In her 15-year career, she has rarely seen cases where such pure heroism resulted in such complete victory against such elaborate corruption. How is it possible that a child living in poverty has more courage than adults with all the resources in the world? Maya proved that bravery has no relation to wealth, age, or power. It only relates to choosing to do what's right when it matters most. The press conference happens 3 days later at Chase Center, with journalists from around the world gathered to hear the story being called the biggest sports conspiracy of the decade. Maya sits beside Steph on the main stage, wearing the first new dress of her life, her small feet swinging nervously while camera flashes create a galaxy of lights around them. Maya Rodriguez is not just a hero, Steph declares to the hundreds of reporters present, his voice carrying emotion that makes the entire audience lean forward. She is living proof that courage has no age, that heroes live in humble homes, and that sometimes we need to listen to children because they see truths that adults ignore. You can sense that there are moments in history that transcend sport and become universal lessons about human character. This press conference isn't about basketball. It's about how a 10-year-old girl redefined the meaning of bravery for an entire generation. During the 3 days between the arrests and this press conference, Steph discovered realities about Maya's life that broke his heart and completely redefined his priorities. The house where she lives with her grandmother Jennifer Walsh has no heating. The windows are covered with plastic to block cold wind, and they survive on food stamps and the 3 jobs Jennifer works to support her orphaned granddaughter. I always knew people like you existed, Maya had confessed to Steph during one of their conversations. My grandmother would show me you on TV and say, "See, Maya, there are good people in the world who use their gifts to make a difference." How is it possible that a child who has so little is so willing to risk everything to protect someone who has so much? Steph experiences this humility as a revelation that fundamentally changes how he sees responsibility and privilege. Before we talk about awards and recognition, Steph continues at the press conference, I want you to understand who Maya really is. She didn't save my life expecting a reward. She did it because she saw someone in danger and decided to act, even knowing she could be ignored, ridiculed, or even arrested. Agent Sarah Mitchell approaches the microphone to announce what all of America was waiting for. By authority of the FBI Director and direct recommendation of the Department of Justice, Maya Rodriguez receives today the Federal Medal of Civil Courage, the highest recognition our nation can give to a citizen who risked their own safety to protect others. It's impossible not to feel the chill of watching a 10-year-old child receiving an honor that few adults will ever achieve. Maya accepts the medal with profound seriousness, intuitively understanding that she's carrying not just medal and ribbon, but responsibility to inspire others to be brave. But it's when Steph makes the next announcement that the global audience truly becomes emotional. Maya and her grandmother Jennifer won't be going home today, Steph declares, his voice breaking slightly. Because they don't have an adequate home to return to. For years, they've lived in conditions no family should face, especially not a family that produces heroes like Maya. At that moment, something happened that no one expected. Steph takes Maya's hand and announces, Isha and I bought a house for Maya and Jennifer. Not as charity, but as family taking care of family. Maya saved my life, and now she's my sister of the heart, forever. The tears streaming down the faces of the journalists present aren't professional. They're human. They're witnessing not just gratitude, but emotional adoption that redefines what chosen family means. Furthermore, Steph continues, we're creating the Little Guardians Foundation, dedicated to children who demonstrate exceptional courage protecting others. Maya will be our first official ambassador. Have you ever witnessed the moment when an averted tragedy transforms into a movement that can save thousands of other lives? The Little Guardians Foundation will become a national network that teaches children to recognize danger, report crimes, and protect communities. During the following weeks, Maya and Steph's story goes viral in ways that transcend normal celebrity. Little Guardians generates millions of posts from children around the world sharing acts of courage. Schools begin educational programs about community vigilance. Governments revise protocols to take child reports more seriously. But perhaps the most profound impact happens 6 months later, when Maya is watching Steph play basketball from a VIP box, wearing a personalized jersey that says, Official Guardian of the Warriors. She's no longer the barefoot girl who ran across the tarmac. She's a young ambassador who speaks at schools, appears on TV shows, and inspires other children to be brave. Great things happen when we decide that protecting others is more important than our own safety, and when we discover that true family is built through love, not just blood, Maya says during an interview on the national morning show, articulating wisdom that impresses adult hosts. 6 months later, Epilogue. Maya now lives in a beautiful house in Oakland, with heating that works, windows that close properly, and her own room decorated with Steph Curry posters and medals she won for civil courage. Her grandmother, Jennifer, no longer needs to work 3 jobs. She's the paid coordinator of the Little Guardians Foundation. How is it possible that saving one life can completely transform 2 other lives in the process? Maya discovered that heroism isn't a single act, but a calling that extends throughout existence. In federal court, Carlos Mendez was sentenced to 20 years for conspiracy to commit murder. Anthony Zhang received 15 years for financing criminal operation. Tyler Brooks, who cooperated completely after arrest, was sentenced to 8 years, but also became a key witness who helped dismantle similar networks in other states. Mr. Curry, Maya says during family dinner with Steph, Isha, and his daughters, do you think those bad men understood they did wrong? I think they understood, sweetheart, Steph responds, cutting the pizza they share every Friday. But more important than that, do you understand that you did right? Maya smiles, that pure smile that won Steph over from the first moment, and nods. Grandma always taught me that great things happen when we choose love instead of fear. I chose to love you enough to protect you, even though I was afraid. It's impossible not to notice that this phrase summarizes not just Maya's courage, but the philosophy that can transform the entire world. Choose love instead of fear. Choose to protect instead of ignore. Choose to act instead of watch. Every time someone asks Steph about the most important day of his career, he doesn't mention championships or records. He talks about a barefoot girl who ran across an airport tarmac, shouting a warning that saved his life and taught him that true heroes don't wear uniforms. They wear pure courage and unconditional love. And every time Maya tells her story in schools around the country, she ends with the same message. You don't need to be big or rich to make a difference. You just need to be brave enough to protect people you love. Because in the end, we're all guardians of each other.